dementia for the last couple of years. He made his transition this week. So his family's back there grappling with this in the middle of a pandemic, and prayers and thoughts for them.
And so it is.
I'd like to ask for prayers for our son Carl as he continues to deal with the suicide of his husband of 10 years.
And so it is.
I would also like to ask for comfort and healing for the Japanese family of Naoya, our son's husband, as his ashes are returning to Japan to his family there.
And so it is.
I would like to ask for prayers for my son Matt and his family. They're in Fort Collins, and with this new shutdown, he's really struggling with his restaurant, trying to keep it going with just him and his partner and one or two people to cook and so on, cut down to just takeout. And he's gone through this the second time, like many have, and it is really, really hard, a hard toll on his body and on his emotions. So prayers for Matt and his family in Fort Collins. Thank you.
And so it is.
Prayers that when people find out what's really going on in the world these days, they don't panic, and remember that good wins, because good is better than bad.
Good way to put it. Where's your coffee? Sorry, you are not on mute anymore.
And so it is. Andy and Joan's son, Andrew, has taken on this virus and is in working with it right now. So holding that whole family. Andrew is living with Andy, and Joan. So holding Andrew, Andy, and Joan in the light.
And if I can add, his girlfriend Lil is also kind of caretaking with him, and so we've got that's our nuclear family. So thank you.
And so it is. And so as we encounter this third surge of infections, our healthcare workers are exhausted, they are frustrated, they are essential to the health of our communities, the health of our nation, of the world. And so we hold the healthcare workers all up and down the line. Doctors, administrators, nurses, technicians, janitors, We see them all protected. We see them all revitalized, energized to handle what needs to be handled in this moment. And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
I ask for the highest and the best for this country as we go through all of these challenges and transition to a new president.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
Prayers of protection and health for all of our frontline workers, including Janine, truck drivers and postal carriers and delivery people and grocery store workers and all the rest.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
I would like to offer prayers for our teachers, and may they be included in the frontline workers as the education of our children is at stake.
And so it is. And likewise for the students and the parents of the students. Holding them all in this light of health and vitality and patience and persistence. And so it is. And for all of those prayers not spoken, for all of those in need of comfort and resilience, let us all remember that we are in the heart of God, that the presence of God is here with us now. And in that awareness, we give thanks. So it is that together we say, Amen. Well, Doug, you have some thoughts, or at least you have some keystrokes.
I very rarely have thoughts.
Well, keystrokes are important.
Well, speaking of peace, I'm going to play a tune by jazz pianist and composer Horace Silver. I don't know if any of you know of Horace, but every Father's Day, Anne used to sing Song for My Father, which was one of Horace Silver's better known tunes. But this is a tune entitled simply Peace. Oh, and by the way, bringing in a little Jazz at the Creek knowledge, this tune is only 10 measures long and keeps repeating. So as far as the form goes, it's a very short form, but 10 measures, 10 bars. Very beautiful.
Thank you, Doug. As usual, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are such a blessing to this community.
Was that cutting in and out still?
Nope. No, at least I heard it very well.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Ours wasn't originally.
No, we were good.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was just my leg of the Zoom. I didn't hear what.
You were not muted during the opening song, and so I think your voice cut out the music because I heard it just fine.
Oh, okay. All right. So, peace is flowing. Peace. Peace is that second state of consciousness that in unity we celebrate the coming of the birth of the Christ consciousness within us. Last week we talked about faith and the associated doubts that come with that. This week we're talking about peace, next week love, and the following week joy. Peace is one of those things that I think is greatly misunderstood. Most of us want it. I would say that all of us want it in our own way, even though we may have different ways to achieve that peace, or we think that we have a different strategy for achieving that peace. Some want it, but they approach it in conflict, thinking that the conflict, if we can just get through the conflict, if we can just get that subjugation done of the opponent so that we can have peace. Well, I suggest that's not peace. That may be an absence of conflict, but it's not peace. So, those that feel that the route to peace is subjugation or winning, that might be peace in their own mind, but is it really? I mean, if you have put down your opponent, whether it's someone in a personal relationship with whom you've had an argument and you've delivered the final zinger and the other person says, I give up, I suggest that that's not peace. That is subjugation, it's dominance, it instills the feeling of, oh no, what if that person comes back at me, right? So there's that fear of the resurgence of that argument, the resurgence of that conflict. And on the other hand, the person who has, quote, given up, has perhaps the feeling of, well, I'll get him next time. Is that peace? No. That may be the absence of conflict, but it's not peace. So peace is something that I think that we need to turn our attention to once again, to understand it perhaps more effectively or more thoroughly. So we live in a society that I suggest to you has this vision of peace, but is not really at peace. In fact, we look at what has happened over the course of the last summer, and we recognize that, well, no, we are not a peaceful nation. We may strive for peace, but we're not a peaceful nation. Marianne Williamson, in her second bid for the presidency this last year, she had a plank in her on her website that talked about the Department of Peace, and this was an idea that had been floated. What was it? 8 years ago, 12 years ago. Anyway, let me share with you this concept that Marianne offered. She said, I believe our country's way of dealing with, one moment please, there we go, okay. She said, yeah, yes, we are coming here. She said, we have I believe our country's way of dealing with security issues is increasingly obsolete. We have the finest military force in the world. However, we can no longer rely on force alone to rid ourselves of international enemies. The planet has become too small for that, and in so doing, we overburden our military by asking them to compensate for the other work that we choose not to do. We are less effective and less secure because of that. This idea that she is putting forth is that we are in and of ourselves, at the very essence of who we are. We are in conflict. We are not in a consciousness of peace. That at the very root of our interactions with each other, we have an anticipation of conflict. This idea of a lasting peace, this idea of having a consciousness that we are